Hello, this is a really quick tutorial. I want to cover how to transfer Twinmotion model into Unreal Engine 5.1. There's some new development since the last version of Twinmotion. I think now you have this option to export the thing directly as a Datasmith file, which is really um, powerful to connect multiple 3D program into Unreal. So I'm glad to see Twinmotion now is offer this option. So I've exported the entire thing, which was made by a student in, and I've export this as a Datasmith. To save time, I don't want to redo this. Just keep in mind this will take a few minutes. Depends on how many objects, material you have. Since the model was made in Revit at the beginning, so there's a metadata associated with the Datasmith as well. Right. So once you have this exported, then you need to install a plugin for Unreal. This name is Datasmith Twinmotion Content. If you Google or just search this in the Unreal Marketplace, you can find this free plugin. Right now, this is in a beta version for Twinmotion 2023. So it's brand new. You can activate. Just keep in mind if you use the older version of Twinmotion content, which is really large, and also a Datasmith import, you probably want to disable uninstall these two plugins, and then you can activate this new one because you cannot really using this all together simultaneously. So the new one gonna replace override the original one. Okay, so once you have this activate, then here is just a simple Unreal template. I did this through ArcWiz template. I use the blank template, so it doesn't have any other starter content or buildings. So it's brand new. And here I have this basic main level. So usually I like to make a duplication just in case I don't want to get rid of the original one. So I have this new level called rest 01. It's a restaurant, so I call this rest 01. So that's a brand new file. And then I created this new folder. You can actually add a new folder here. I give this folder as orange, sorry, the pink. Just make it easier. We can recognize it's a new folder. Then I'm go ahead to import the Datasmith, which was exported from Twinmotion. And I have the Datasmith file saved here, which is the 26 megabits, and also have this associate folder with it. Just want to show you really quick, since this is something might be important. So whenever you export it from Twinmotion into a Datasmith format, you will see something like um, like this, right? Datasmith file. But also, most important, you have this folder. Within the folder, you have, in this case, you have 900 items. So they represent geometries, materials, and texture. So there's a lot of data here. Since this Datasmith has quite a lot of people and tree and furniture, so this is actually pretty large. Okay. Also, you see the UDS mesh. So this is the Datasmith mesh file. Okay. So just keep in mind this folder is very important. Okay. If I check the property, it's actually 2G. Wow, that's pretty large. So I will go ahead import this Datasmith file in. My current layer is called the rest01. I mean the level. Okay, that's good. Then I will click open, and I will make sure I have a folder to save the imported file, and I check all three, and I will choose import. Okay, so what happened is now these 900 items will be embedded into my content folder under rest. So this will be uh, the the whole import. All right. So after a couple of minutes, seems like the import is over, and then you should see there is a folder here show up in the outliner. It's called the rest. So this basically represent this Datasmith file, and also underneath this folder you have quite a lot of elements. So if I double click, I can actually see these elements. Wow, I wonder why it's taking so long to bring in. There's quite a lot of furnitures in, and also all the post people and all the details here. Okay, so that's a pretty large file. And also here, this is the Datasmith file. If I double click, you can actually see this is a list of the inventories underneath each group. Okay, um, so I think that's it. This is how you bring a Twinmotion file from the latest 2023 into the Unreal Engine 5.1. Okay, so all the lighting, all the details there. So next thing, before I do any other operations to save all, because this is a pretty large file, you do want to just keep in mind you have probably 900 new files you need to really save. So save selected. This will take a moment. Okay, so after I save everything, then let's uh, go ahead to create some really quick fly through. So basically, if I right click and then I can do a quick play from here. So that this is the easiest way. So you can basically have the first person view, and then I can look fly around. Because I'm using a spectator pawn, which is the default, there's not really a collision here. So I can fly to any levels. I can see all the details. I believe this is how you get out. Okay, um, very good model. There is some issues related to the tree. I'm not super worried about it. This is just some normal mapping, probably need to be rebuilt. We'll worry about this later. Everything else looks really good. If I fly high, I can basically see the entire building plus some of the neighbor buildings. Okay, and here's outdoor dining. All right, I think this looks pretty good. So let me stop. Then I will do is create maybe a first person view, maybe a default character. So let me see how to do that. First, I will just take a look at the entire environment. If I double click, I can see there's the sun, and here is my entire building. The reason, well, there's a weird creature here. I'm not sure why. There's a, is this a pig or something? Anyway, I think the building is kind of flying above. Again, is because elevation is pretty high. So there are many ways you can adjust it. You can definitely make a player start, from here. Just put a player start there. To make things easier, I will just push the whole uh, Datasmith file downwards, right? So here, if you select the root, and then in the details, there is a value here. So this is 000 for now. But for the z, I'm able to just simply move. If I move down a little bit, you can see here's x, y, z. If I move z downwards, I can move the entire Datasmith, right? So this could be slow if you drag it. I will just do -2000 just for testing. So this will move this pivot point 2000 units downwards. I see this one is going down. I know by default it's a centimeter as a unit, so this equals to 20 meters. I know the sea level is probably 200 meters, so I will just add another zero. So that make this pretty close to the sea level. Okay, so that is basically one way you can make the model kind of in a relatively correct height. I think I can afford to make it even lower, so maybe 220 meters downwards, or maybe let's do 300. Yeah, so you can adjust these values, the z value, so that's better. Maybe too much. Okay, so you can play these values. Then the next thing I'm going to do is make my player start uh, relatively. Let me see if I can make this adjust to 5. Yeah, because there are some volumes represent the the higher lighting baking volume, so it's always a good idea you make this volume match with the area you really care. So maybe let me just move these post effects volumes here. Can make it a little bit larger. Okay, so that is good. I also have a this is called player start. If I double click, this guy is actually underneath. I will just make it above. So W to move. I will put it really close to my entrance. Right. So this will be the starting point of the game. For other actors like a floor, I don't really need it, so delete. Instant foliage, I don't really worry about. Post effects volume is already being moved. Um, Camera actor, I think I don't really need this neither. Um, yeah, I've got rid of this. Okay. All right. So that is cleaned. What else I need? Sun sky, doesn't matter where you put it. Cloud is basically there. You don't want to move. Okay. So now I'm go ahead to create a. Let me save everything. I will go ahead and create a first person view. So there are many ways you can do it in the word settings. If I just simply do this as the default, which is a game mode. Right. What is the AR shared word? Let me play. Yeah, this is probably one of the Pong come from the default architecture game mode, but there's not really. I think you can go through the ground. That's not exactly what I need. Right. Yeah. Um, okay. So this is some default Pong here. Let's see the default Pong. Yeah. So I like to do a new Pong, not a default. Um, so let's do this. I will add another maybe featured content pack. I will do, let's try a third person Pong first. Okay. I will also add a first person Pong, so I will add both of them. And then I will close. Okay. So there's a bunch of things being added. So the first person Pong came with the first person BP input maps. I don't really need a map. Same thing for the third person. You have input. You have the BP, which is a robot. You have some maps. Okay. So now if I switch to uh, game mode to third person BP and play, right, I should have a robot showing up, uh, but I don't think the location is right. Yeah, I'm kind of underneath. Okay, so make sure we check the starter location. Oh, I know what happened because there's no collision for the ground, so the robot kind of falling down. So if you really check the geometries, right? This geometry is called concrete cast in place gray. In fact, if you browse, you can see it right here. This one don't have a collision yet. So here I probably just simply add a collision for testing. So here I want to use a collision, complex collision as simple. Okay, and save it. So now if I play, hopefully I think this ground gonna hold my robot. Yes. Okay, so now the robot is able to standing on top of this ground. So that's pretty cool. But if you step into the grass, you okay. So to save time, I will just select everything. Then I will do asset actions, bulk edit where property matrix. Um, Once a window is open, just make sure if you don't have this um, showed up, you can make sure to turn on the grid display and property editor. You should see this is all geometry being selected, and then you have this part, all the properties. There's one property called collision, and right now it's block all. Complexity is project default. You can use complex collision as simple. This will change the way Unreal interacts with geometry. So since we have 900, actually 380 objects being selected, so this will change everything, including the trees, furnitures, every single object uh, in that list. Then you can close this window. You see everything now is became star, means is being modified. You need to save later. But before save, I just want to play. We can take a look. I think right now the player start. Oh, why is still kind of falling down? That's strange. Um, Let me just make sure I check the right one. Right. And the collision has to be use complex as simple. I think that's correct. Maybe I should save it. So let me save everything, and then we can play. Okay. Okay. So I just deleted the grass. Yeah, I don't think it's really necessary. So now I can go here. That's much better. Okay. Here's all the vehicles. Um, all right. So now, yeah, this glass door is also no collision. I will go ahead change the view to first person BP and play. So that will just give me the first person view, and I can jump. I should be able to go through the door as well. Okay, cannot. That is interesting. Um, let's do this. I will get rid of this person because I think she's a little bit too close to the door. I don't want to block the view or block the entrance. Okay, and for the first person, so I have this first person Pong, and I don't know, maybe I should get rid of the arm. Um, let's do this. Okay, I will do this hidden in game. Um, I think this is the capsule which represent the dimension of your character. Um, Maybe I will just reduce the radius to maybe 20. So skinnier. Height is 80. Okay, so it's a smaller version of a body. And then I play. Yeah, because some of the door probably have a moving system. That will probably block the. Yeah, now I can get through. That's interesting. Okay, so the door handle is actually another objects. I probably want to get rid of the collision. So this is associated with all the door frames. That's good. So here I will browse to asset, um, double click. I will change the collision to no, no collision. Okay. Save all. So the door will not block me. So I will give this name rest 02. Just make sure I have everything saved. Okay, so after some disable the collision for the doorknob, I think I should be able to go in as a first person, no problem. And then I can go to either upper level, or I can go down. Right, here's the stair to go to an upper level. I can go down to the lower level, and I can see. I'm not sure this leads to any place, right? But there's a large space you can go in. I think this is a kitchen. Then I can go back. Okay. All right. I think that's it. This is how the first person and third person can be added into this. So I probably need to rebuild the lighting because right now some lighting doesn't look right. So I will go ahead and rebuild the lighting. Then I will package this. All right, and then next thing I did is I rebuilt the lighting just with the preview quality, um, and also rebuild the reflection. There is some warning message. I believe most of them is because of UV mapping. There's not a right UV mapping for some objects. I can ignore this, and then you should see the result is slightly better, especially for the areas with the shadow within the shadow. So when you bake the light, basically the shadow information is saved directly into the textures. So you can see definitely the shadow here looks much better. Same thing here, in the corners, right? So you see this is a better shadow. Um, and here there is a better shadow here as well. And also the reflection just looks better with after you bake the light. This will be pretty obvious if you go to a little bit relatively dark space. Um, I think space here is all pretty bright. Try to find a little bit dark space. Um, right, so here you see that dark corner. Not sure what happened with this kid. He looks really tall. Um, all right, so some really nice baked light within the shadow area. Okay, I think that's pretty much what you need to know about the transition from Twinmotion into Unreal. Okay, hope you enjoy this tutorial.